Hello, you're listening to Random Sage with Maryann from Revealing Light. How are you, wherever you are in the world when you're listening? Of course, a huge shout out to you. A lot happening across the globe. In the UK, we have an absolutely stunning defeat of the Tories. The Labour Party, led by Sir Keir Starmer, has taken a whopping 400, or predicted to take a whopping 410 seats, leaving the Tories with 131. There's no other way to put it. Other than to say this is an absolute decimation for the Tories. About a year ago, I started reading on the UK election, and I could see that Labor was going to take the win. I just underestimated the size of the win. About a month ago, I think it was consistently predicting a Labor win, and about a month ago, of course, I saw very clearly, for all the reasons that we're hearing about, the economy, dissatisfaction with Brexit, the health system, a perception around that the only people that benefited from Brexit and the ongoing way the country was governed were the elites, and so this was a massive movement against conservative government, a long-time conservative government, where voters overwhelmingly voted for change. Most recently, we had the election in India, and I went against the pundits, and I said, I don't think Modi's going to do so well, or as well as he did before. And of course, he was lucky to form a government with a coalition supporting him. And these are the great gods of the right who have been felled, and felled quite badly. In France, I predicted that the left and the centralist Macron party would unite and form some kind of coalition. It's astounding what is happening in France at the moment. The left are dropping out in order to buoy this coalition forward. The left and the centralists, to keep with one goal, to keep the far right party National Rally of Marine Le Pen out of a majority government. And so some wonderful things are happening, even in the worst case scenarios, where far right parties have got up in Europe, in the Netherlands and in Italy. They have governed very responsibly with support from centralists and the left. And so, even though a bleak picture might be painted of what is going on in Europe, I don't see that. I see the opposite. Brings me to the US now, and I have to say that, this week's been pretty tough all round for those that live in the US, for my viewers, for my listeners, and of course, because I every time I read, I represent your interests. It's been tough for me. Um, as many of you know, the Supreme Court found that a president does have some version of criminal immunity. I can't believe I'm even saying that, for official acts. It's unthinkable, and he doesn't have immunity for criminal acts that are unofficial, but he does if they're official. And so, to me, that is an absolute devastating ruling. And the first thing that came to mind when I heard it was, let's stop pretending now that the Supreme Court in America is not allied and serving the interests of the GOP and the GOP's candidate, Donald Trump. Let's pretend no more. The Supreme Court has been captured. They are partisan, and they're ruling this way. They're going against the Constitution, and as pundits have said, they're making this stuff up. The Constitution, of course, makes it clear that no person is above the law, and that is the foundation of of American law and of American independence. That is the foundation of the revolution, away from the monarchy in England, to establish the equality of all men. That's the foundation of the Republic, and this Supreme Court has overturned it for who? For a man like Donald Trump. And that should tell you everything. So, my friends, in America, it is time to vote. It is time to roll your sleeves up and vote in November 2024. I've been further dismayed this week by the media reaction to the debate, the ongoing media reaction to the debate between President Biden, Joe Biden, and the GOP candidate Donald Trump, who I think it was worked out, told a lie every 1.5 minutes during the debate, in using a technique called Gish Gallop, where he overwhelmed his opposition by blatant lies. There was no moderation. Let's be clear about that. And of course, this was not Joe Biden's best night. He was unwell, and the tactics of both Trump and the media that hosted the debate, their mic levels were all off, all wrong. I mean, as I said in my previous readings, commentary on this, no sound technician worth their salt would have let someone go in with a mic level which subdued the president's voice. That combined with his being unwell, he had a bad night. Yet, and I want to stop this for a minute. When the transcripts of the two debates are compared, guess who is the winner? It is President Biden, who articulated the policy and vision for the future versus the lies. What a cynical, money-oriented world we live in, when the media is upholding and elevating a candidate like Donald Trump. Massive convictions in the civil courts, massive business fraud, not just small fraud, massive business fraud, liable for rape, convicted of business fraud and campaign and election interference in New York, on multiple felonies for stealing classified documents, for his role in the January 6th insurrection. And here are the American media on a witch hunt against the current President Biden. That's all I can say. The long arm of the dollar reaches into Australia when we had reporting on the Epstein files, which were released in Florida this week. And Trump is mentioned multiple times. The MAGA candidate, Donald Trump, mentioned multiple times in the call logs. And in Australia, when the particular channel was reporting this, one of our mainstream channels, they reported the Epstein files. They did mention, I think, that Trump was mentioned in those logs, and guess what picture they used? Bill Clinton and Epstein. And the journalist in me notices things like that. And I thought to myself, if the President of the United States can be set up in a debate, if the mainstream media are trying to tear Biden down in order to get headlines and clicks and readership, and even the unthinkable, get Donald Trump elected again because he's good for ratings, if they're prepared to sell the democracy down the line, if that long arm of the dollar reaches into Australia, then the only thing standing between us and another term of Donald Trump and Project 25, which will erode and take away rights, civil liberties, upend law, decimate the administrative arm of the government, to infiltrate and put in extremists in high-level administrative positions. It's a takeover of a democratic republic government. The only thing standing between that is the American voter. The American voter. And there, I think I read a quote by Brené Brown that to go onto the field vulnerable is a mark of supreme courage. When you can't control the outcome, when you think or you can't have certainty around the outcome, you're in a vulnerable position. It's not about winning and losing. It's about getting out there, and that is the mark of courage. I've been disappointed by commentators in the media that I once followed, who were all in piling on the current president without any regard as to what that might do, what that might mean. And I realized at that point that this is not about truth. It's not about good journalism. This is about ego and the dollars. And this is about hosts, including some of the Democratic podcast hosts, that go along with a superficial groundswell because it means they will have a ratings increase. And ratings, in the case of podcasts, means dollars coming in. It certainly has been a tough couple of weeks for anyone who is steadfast, courageous, and full of hope. Unfortunately, what we have witnessed in the last week or two has taken its toll on our hope and our faith. And of course, when that happens, when hope and faith lower, you have fear increasing. And that's when it tests the mettle. Some have passed the test, and I urge you to find the people who have passed the test and keep them in your viewership or listenership. And for those that haven't passed the test, well, now you know. Now you know. I read this week in another forum on whether Joe Biden would. What was he thinking? What would he do? What was he thinking? And what does he want? What does he want to do? And I got very clearly, I didn't predict whether he was going to go or stay. I said he is deeply heartsick at this. And he's making his decision based on, or his forward actions based on whether he can think can win, based on whether he's the best person to beat Donald Trump. That's his reasoning. He doesn't, probably if he had his rathers, who would want this crap? Honestly, who would want the crap that Joe Biden has been subjected to, and his family, and his only surviving son? Who would want that? So he made the decision with his closest advisors based on his 35 years in the brutal pit of politics as to whether he could win or not. He released a statement. I'm the Democratic candidate. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in it to win it. And by the way, in that reading that I did this week, in this smaller forum, I kept out of the mainstream stuff because, I wasn't going to pile on, and I'd already seen straight after the the debate that he'd been riled up and he was going to stay. And I thought, okay, so the reality check is that depending on Biden's decision, that war chest, campaign fundraising war chest, goes to Kamala Harris. Doesn't go to anyone else. Doesn't go to Buttigieg or Newsom or Warren or anyone else. It goes to Harris, VP Harris. She would then, if anything happened to President Biden, it would all go to Harris. Harris would then be the nominee. Now, Harris makes up the other half of the team. How would she do in a presidential race? Guess what, people? She aced it. Her outcome card was the sun, the strongest yes in the pack. So it's time to put fears away, to roll your sleeves up and vote and stop this disaster from occurring. Joe Biden's in it to win it. He's made his decision. Lay off him. Get off this track. All you're doing is playing into MAGA's hands. Understand that the plan B, if ever it was needed, because old age is precarious, the plan B is Harris, and she would win against Trump. Close down the polls. Roll up your sleeves and vote and get everybody else to vote, because you're relying on that result, and so are we. So is the world. We do not want a dictator in charge of the most powerful army in the world. So back to the Supreme Court. Back to the Supreme Court. No illusions, please. Let those rose-coloured, if you've still got them on, let your rose-coloured glasses drop, because the Supreme Court is captured. It is supporting the GOP, in this case, the MAGA dominant wing of the GOP. It's supporting them, and it is supporting Donald Trump. It's not all bad. The DOJ Department of Justice in America has come out and said, we will pursue, we will keep going, we'll keep prosecuting Donald Trump, and we'll do it up to January the 20th. So all those trials will keep going. The January 6th trial gets kicked down to back down to the DC court, which I said it would. Unfortunately, I said that's what was going to happen, that the lower court would have to decide what's official and what's not. That's exactly what's happening. But that means that there will be a mini trial before the election in Judge Chutkan's court in DC, Washington, D.C. And we will hear all the evidence. Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, will have to bring out all his evidence, lay it on the table, and the judge will decide, is it official or not. So people will hear about what happened there. People will hear about the false slate of electors. They'll hear the lot. No doubt Trump will then appeal that up to the Supreme Court, and let the Supreme Court twist and turn then. Of course, that will be after the election, won't it? So one of two things will happen. Either Trump will pardon himself, get the DOJ to drop the investigation, Supreme Court's problem goes away, or Biden wins. And all my readings have said he wins, but there's a period of absolute turmoil afterwards as the states try and stop certification. It will have to be sorted out in the court. Fear not, the court will rule in relation to that election in the right way. The way that Americans can stop any grey areas is to get out and vote. So after the election, either Trump will be the president or Biden will be. And if Biden's the president, then those cases just go on, and the Supreme Court will most likely use their power to get rid of the candidate that is a loser twice, thrice, and dig the knife into Trump and pave the way for one of their other candidates. And it is one of their other candidates to go forward. Donald Trump, if he doesn't win this election, will be massacred. And the card that just jumped out there was the Knight of Cups, part of the cult. All right, let's do a reading now. Can the rule of law survive? Can the US Republic, US democracy survive Donald Trump? Can US democracy, the Republic of the US, can it? Because a republic is someone without a king, where all men are equal, all men and women are equal. That's the fundamental of a republic. Can the American democracy and its republic survive Donald Trump? So we have the Three of Cups, unity, coming together, circles of support, crossed by abuse of power. And so this is what I basically started the podcast with. There is one thing standing between Donald Trump and his plans to become an authoritarian dictator. It's the American voter. So it is this unity that must happen now, which makes the naysayers about Biden all the more dangerous. There has to be a coming together to stop an abuse of power. Now, the Ace of Wands is a new start. It is a plan, and I'm confident it's motivation. The seeds of that plan to stop Donald Trump are germinating right now. I'm confident that there will be a coming together of never-Trumpers in the Republican Party and the Democrats and independents to come together to defeat this authoritarian proposal. The Hanged Man is in the past, so the danger of Biden going has passed, because when I did readings privately for myself, because I was worried, the Hanged Man was there as he decided, can he win it? Can he win it? Should he stay, and can he win it? And he decided he can win it. He's the best person to win it. The Hanged Man. Do not underestimate him. The Page of Swords in the sky. Okay, so there's a movement that is starting amongst young people too. There has to be this consolidated outreach now to young people. We have the Eight of Wands, the speed, the headlines. I've always said something big is dropping with Donald Trump, and I'm pretty sure it's around Epstein, with his name being mentioned so many times in the call logs, with his clear association with Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted trafficker. Remember, Trump's name was in the call logs in Palm Beach at the time Epstein was raping women, girls, underage girls, minors. That's what he was convicted of, and trafficking them. There's more to come on that. We have the Seven of Swords, which is lies and deceit. Lies and deceit. A lot of that going around, isn't there? We also have the Three of Wands. This is putting in the hard work and waiting for one ship to come in. Can America survive? There's a lot of foreign influence here. We know that Trump's plane was parked next to Russia's plane for about a week. We get the Strength card in the hopes and fears. Is it strong enough? It's a fear and it's a hope. It's a fear. It's currently a fear and a hope. And then we get the Chariot, yes. And this is what occurs in America throughout its history. It rises to the occasion. The Chariot suggests that's going to be quick. And we get the Three of Pentacles coming together. It's all about unity. It's all about building the momentum now. And we get the Hermit. A lot of people are in there. They're reflecting. It's a dark night of the soul for America, and they're reflecting. The base of the pack, we get heartbreak and betrayal. I wager that's how a lot of my listeners are feeling. We get Eight of Pentacles. There's a lot of skill in Biden's campaign. There's a lot of skill in the Never Trumpers. I want to shout out to the Lincoln Project, Rick Wilson in particular, who did not waver from Biden. Why might that be? Because the bloke's got a spine. We get the Four of Cups, a lot of disappointment in Biden's performance. That's fair. That's fair, but but now Biden said, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. Forget those questions now. It's finished with. To perpetuate that, you're playing into MAGA's hands. Consistency will win the day. And the Five of Pentacles, one of the things that Biden must do, and the Ace of Pentacles must address how people are feeling about not having enough to go around. There has to be some acknowledgement, even though the indicators say there's a good economy, people aren't feeling it in their wallets, and that has to be addressed. We know that Trump most likely will pick the governor of South Dakota, who's a billionaire. Most likely he's going to go with the money, and his government will be, he siphoned off $7.5 million in his last term for himself, Trump. His government will be about lining his and his circle's pockets, as it always has been. So, America, you have to wake up to the truth. And once you've woken up to the truth, then you have to act on the truth. All right, that's Random Sage, and you're listening to Maryann from Revealing Revealing Life, Revealing Light at Random Sage. I'll be back again with another podcast soon. Thanks for joining me this week.